I've been teaching a series on what is holy, or holy is, and my proof text, or my text that I've been using, is Leviticus 19 and 1 Corinthians 13. And right now, what I want to go to is, I want to talk about is the Dietary Laws, and why are they important? Why should we listen to God about them, and all of that? And we're going to be looking at Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14 as our proof text. And the bottom line is that when you want to know what is clean or unclean to you, what does that mean? It means a lot of things. It's unhealthy or healthy to you, or could be deadly to you. What people don't understand is why we're having so many health problems nowadays, and why people are dying. Reason they're dying of certain things and diseases is because they're defiling themselves. Some things that God said not to eat are an abomination. And when you read the book of Leviticus in chapter 11, Deuteronomy also chapter 14, it talks about the dietary laws, the things that we should and shouldn't eat. Some people say, well, we're no longer under the law of, and it doesn't matter what we eat. Everything we eat, we ought to bless, ask the Lord to bless it before we eat it, and it becomes clean. That's not scriptural. That's where people try to take things and take it out of context, and not look at what God has told us to do, and how He's told us to eat things. Now, I could teach a series on this I could teach for a couple of months, because there's so many things involved. But I'm going to try I may teach a couple of lessons on this, because there is a lot to it, and we need to know what it is that there is to it. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is how people take things out of context to prove it's okay for them to eat anything. And just quoted one of the scriptures there that people try to use in order to prove this. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. There is no place in the scriptures that give us the right to eat anything that's unclean. Now, one of the things we need to remember is we never should eat anything with blood in it. In other words, people say, well, I don't eat anything with blood in it. I always cook it well done. Well, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have any blood in it. You can cook the blood of something in it. And if you boil chicken in a cooker, what happens to the chicken is the blood will actually, and all the evils will come up to the top, and you can scoop those off and throw them out. And also, you should probably wash your chicken after you boil it. Then, if you want to bake the chicken or season it in anything, that would be the right thing to do. And also, even with beef or anything like that, or any other kind of things that are proper for us to eat, and you should never ever eat anything that's strangled. In other words, choked out, or my grandparents used to reach and grab a chicken and just wring its head off, break its neck, wring it around, tearing it all the way around. That chicken would just flop around on the ground. You should never eat anything that's been done like that. And if you're going to eat a chicken, you ought to chop its head off and hang it up and let the blood drain out of it, and then still boil it to get all the blood out of the animal. And you shouldn't really eat anything with blood in it at all. And why that is because the life is in the blood. And most people don't understand that. What that means is that it can cause all kinds of things to happen to you, give you all kinds of diseases in your body. It can do all kinds of things to you. That's why this is important. And to be holy, God said don't eat these things. And if that's what He has told us to be holy is, then we should not do it. Now, I'm going to let this be like an introduction to you, and then I'm going to do a couple of other lessons on this. I'm getting a little bit tired, but I wanted to introduce this. before I lay down and got some rest tonight. I've been teaching quite a bit and been studying these things for quite a while, and just hadn't been teaching on here like on a regular basis in a while. And so I wanted to get a bunch of things on here in case that happens again, that you can refer and watch and take part in, and you can just watch at your leisure. These videos will be on for a while, but don't linger too long, because there's some really good teachings in here. There's really good teachings about what holy is, what it means to be holy, how can we be holy, and how do we know the standards of being holy. Well, the scriptures are plain, and when you read Leviticus chapter 11, the very last part of Leviticus chapter 11, we're talking about the dietary laws. God says, when you follow those dietary laws, then you're holy. And he says in verse 44 of chapter 11 of Leviticus, he says, "For I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore sanctify yourselves," or set yourself apart from everybody else, "and you shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall you defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am the Lord that bringeth you out of the land of Egypt, to be your God, and you shall be holy, for I am holy." Now, whenever we're talking about being holy, this is one of the things it means when we're to be holy. We're not to touch the unclean thing. There's a lot of things. You need to be reading the chapter 11 Leviticus and Deuteronomy chapter 14 as your proof text about holiness. Okay? Well, thanks for listening today. Hope you got a lot out of the lessons I posted. I hope you get a lot out of them. And this one's going to be about 2 more sessions long. We're going to talk about what we already talked about, what we said we was going to talk about. We're going to talk about where people try to justify that it's okay to eat anything now. And we're going to talk about that, how there are things being pulled out of context to prove it. And then we're going to talk about what is clean, what's not. And we're going to talk about Acts chapter 15 as well. And there's a lot of information here. So watch carefully, study a lot, and pay attention. Okay? Thanks a lot.